tanking, for lack of a better word, is when you are trying not to win games, okay? That's not what we're doing. It's not what we did in Los Angeles with that group of young guys, okay? It's who we're trying to win the games with. And how many wins matters. Remember, we're in the West, right? You know, I was joking with one of our free agents where he went to the East where 35 wins gets you in, and as opposed to the West where 45 wins keeps you out. So the question is, how many do you have to win? Because at the end of the day, right, there's only two things in our league. You're in the playoffs or you're in the lottery. And if you're making moves to win, you better know you're getting into the playoffs, right? So I mean, look, this tanking thing I think is a little bit overblown because I've never met a player in my life that when he got on the court cared where the draft pick was for the guy who was going to take his job 12 months later. And if you did, you wouldn't want him in your organization. So it's not about tanking. And even rebuilding is different. You know, ironically, I actually think there's more talent here today than what we inherited when we got here 3 years ago. Okay, the front office staff, the coaching staff, Chris and his group, this is still the group that went from a toxic culture and 33 wins to the first playoff series win in a decade and a half in 12 months. So there is nobody in this building. I was joking with the guys. I'm like, dude, this is going to be harder on me than anybody. I was in the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years. I was in the second round of the playoffs 2 years in a row, then came here 1 year in the lottery, second round, right? Then back to the playoffs again where we thought we were going to the Western Conference Finals. So I get the emotional stress it puts on people, but we are playing to win. We're just trying to be as judicious as possible about not taking away the future of the organization to win games that may not actually create enough of an opportunity for it to matter on a grander scale. So I don't want to hear about tanking. And like I said, we've actually upgraded some positions. Now people maybe don't realize that yet because they're not out there on the court. And because again, in the aggregate and as the collective, a lot of the players we had were associated with a 54-win team, right, and a team that was in third place in the West, you know, on March 5th. But that was the group. Well, that group doesn't exist anymore. So now we got to look at players on an individual basis and how talented they are and how quickly they can gel. So you know, that's not what's going on at all. It's just, you know what? At the end of the day, we built around LaMarcus because he was on one career path at what will be 30 years old, you know, come the first day of the season. And now we're dealing with a guy who's 25 years old who just committed 6 years. So we're going to build and put pieces around him.
How long do you envision the rebuild taking?
Didn't we just say it wasn't a rebuild? You know, I don't know. But like I said, I mean, when we got here, you know, we anticipated it taking a lot longer. You know, our first year, like I said, you know, everybody keeps associating Dame with already being on that roster. When we got hired, Dame wasn't on that roster. We got hired June 5th. We had 2 lottery picks, most of the people whom were distressed that we took Damian Lillard out of Weber State with the 6th pick, and a project big at 11. So, you know, we inherited basically in terms of talent, we inherited Nick, Wes, and LaMarcus, right? So it was just a matter of how quickly. Now, we were on the clock a little bit because we were trying to recruit LaMarcus and put pieces around him. But at the end of the day, you know, a lot of things that didn't really resonate, you know, nationally. Now, the basketball people knew what we had done. Like I said, 12 months. We went from 33 wins to 54 wins in the second round of the playoffs. So I don't want to put a ceiling on how long it's going to take to get someplace, but we don't know where we're starting yet. You know, like I said, I think we're going to be competitive. No, we've got a 2-time All-Star point guard. We've got a big-time 2 guard. We've got a guy from Team USA who's 25 years old who's been a starter, you know, on a playoff team. You know, so has Al-Farouq Aminu. So, like, I mean, we have guys, these guys are better than you guys think. They're just younger.
Obviously, it's not tanking. It's not rebuilding. What word would you use as to what this is? I
don't know. I was an English major at Lemoyne. My vocabulary is not that extensive, so I don't know what we'll have to go to thesaurus.com and find something else out. I would say it's emerging. Does that work?
Emerging?
Yes.
From?
Emerging, you know, it's an emerging roster, right? I mean, I think it's younger guys, right, that their best days are ahead of them, that in terms of how they're all going to fit together, we'll see how quick that takes place. But, you know, I think that's what we're waiting for. I mean, we're waiting for this group of players to emerge the way that the previous group did. You know, it's interesting, when you look at the history of Portland, a lot of what has derailed some really good groups that were on the right path had nothing to do with basketball. right? I mean, when you go back to Brandon and Greg, they were injuries. They were absolutely, that Kevin's group was absolutely doing the right thing. They were putting the right pieces on the floor. I mean, they were on the verge of something really special, and it was derailed. And this is what happens. You know what happened? I mean, look around the league. I mean, this is, I know we all look at through our own lens. It's not, this isn't the only place that has had obstacles put in their path because of injuries. So, but I think it is emerging. I mean, if we're going to try and put a moniker on it, and neither Chris nor I are big on slogans, because all it does is then become punchlines when they don't go well. But I mean, I do think it is about emergence, because these are guys, by the way, this isn't break it down and bring in a bunch of guys that can't play in the NBA, you know, and are running around like Keystone Cops, you know, trying to lose as many games as possible, and you bury your head in the sand. It's not. I mean, Al-Farouq Aminu was a starting small forward on a team that was in the playoffs. Ed Davis had a huge year for the Lakers. They wanted him back, right? I mean, you got C.J. McCollum, how he played, Damian Lillard. I mean, we got really good players. They've just never had the responsibility attached to winning as much as they will here.